Please let me know when we are ready.
Sure.
Sorry.
Sure. We can start now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are having a webinar on e-invoicing. In that, we would be showing you the basics of e-invoicing and talking about how it works, the various rules. We'll be answering all your questions and showing you demos of how it works in GSTs and what solutions GSTs and offers to various users. So let's get started. I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, it's visible.
These are the topics we would be discussing. First, we will be going over the basics of e-invoicing, then legal provisions, how to create an account with NIC, and various integrations that are possible through Excel and API, general validation, and other aspects of e-invoicing, as well as what solutions GST Zen offers in regards to e-invoicing. So before moving on to the main topic, let me tell you a little bit about GST Zen. GST Zen is an ASP GSP. Besides e-invoicing, we provide other services such as return filing, reconciliation, and other tools. For return filing, we provide the facility to file GSTR 1, 3B, 9, and 9C. We provide various reports which helps in reconciliation, like the books versus 2A or 2B. We provide consolidated reports where you can get a comparison between various returns, such as 1 versus 2A versus 3B, PAN level reports, as well as e-webel reports. There are some tools which are available in GST Zen. One of such tools is Autopilot, which can be used to perform a function for multiple GST numbers at a time instead of going to each one and repeating the same task over and over. We provide JSON to Excel facility, GSN and HSN validator, and as well as offset facility that helps you in getting optimum offset so that you have to pay minimum amount of cash for 3B filing. Let's look at some of our numbers. We have more than 30,000 users. Lakhs of reports are downloaded from GST Zen. Millions of invoices are processed daily. And there are more than 20 crore invoices in our database. And we generate an e-invoice every 2 seconds. So loan handling is not a problem for us. We'll be going over various APIs also that we provide. It will help out many software developers who are trying to integrate the APIs into their own software to enable their own users to generate e-invoices from the software directly. Moving on. So why has the government adopted this e-invoicing? So these, let me go over the points. So digital invoices accounting is a metric in ease of doing business ranking of countries. So e-invoicing has brought India's ranking further up from 77 to 63 in 2021. E-invoicing will also help in standardizing various processes, reduce data entry errors, and save costs. It has led to 96% in cost saving, those people who have implemented e-invoicing, 80% in time saving, and 15 times more efficient. So it also provides for better compliance by taxpayers, and it simplifies audits. So moving on, what is e-invoicing or electronic invoicing? There is no prior standard under GST or any other statute. So having a standard is a must for interoperability. E-invoicing is mainly introduced to enable interoperability. So before, if somebody was generating an invoice from Tally, let's say, and he gives it to a user of SAP, it would not be possible to fetch the information directly from that invoice. It would have to be manually input, because the data, how the data is presented and enters is entered is different in both the systems. Now in e-invoicing, how the data is entered and submitted to the government portal is in a uniform format. So this allows for interoperability. Whenever you generate an e-invoice, it directly goes to the GST portal, auto-populates in GSTR1. There, from there, it also goes to GSTR2A and 2B of the customer. Moving on to the legal provisions, let's look at the timeline of e-invoicing. E-invoicing went live for businesses whose turnover exceeded 500 crore on 1st of October 2020. This was brought into practice by Central Tax Notification 61 by 2020. After that, it was introduced for businesses exceeding turnover 100 crores, then for 50, 20, 10, and lastly, it has been brought for 5 crores, and it is proposed to go live from 1st of August 2023 via notification number 10 bar 2023. Now, speaking of rules, so CGST notification 68 bar 2019 gives the rules. Under that, it says rule 48. It gives the manner of issuing invoice. Rule number 48, sub rule 4 gives form GST INV1. It shows the form in which the invoice should be issued whoever is eligible for e-invoicing. Rule 48 sub rule 5 says that any invoice which is not issued in the form GST INV1 is not valid. So if you are eligible for e-invoicing, you have to generate invoice in form GST INV1. Otherwise, it will not be valid. Rule 48, sub rule 6 says that multiple copies of invoice are not required. Earlier, you were generating multiple copies, let's say one for supplier, one for transporter. Now, multiple copies are not required in case of e-invoicing. CGST notification 69 bar 2019 notifies the common portal, that is the e-invoice portal, e-invoice1.gst.gov.in, and notification 60 bar 2020 specifies the schema, that is the format in which the invoice should be issued. The format is uniform for everyone. We will move on to that, and my colleagues will show you how it works and what it looks like. The JSON schema, essentially, all the information that is sent to the portal goes in the form of a JSON. You must already be aware of JSON. It is how the GST portal accepts and gives out information. If you are submitting GSTR1, you submit it in the form of a JSON file. If you are downloading filed returns, you also download it in the form of a JSON file. Similarly, any e-invoice that is sent to the e-invoice portal is also sent in the form of a JSON. These are some of the additional IRPs that have been notified very recently. Earlier, there was only one portal, that is e-invoice1.gst.gov.in. Now, 5 other portals have been notified. So, in total, 2 are run by the government, that is e-invoice 1 and e-invoice 2 are run by the government. Rest are run by private entities. So, portal 3 is run by Signet, 4 by ClearTax, 5 by EY, and 6 by iRails. So you can register on either of these portals. So we all know that e-invoicing is now applicable to people whose turnover is above 5 crore. And let me give a clarification on that. So what do you mean by this 5 crore limit? How is it calculated? So it is calculated on PAN level, not at GSN level. So if you have 5 GST numbers under a PAN, the total aggregate turnover would be counted for this. And if you have exceeded 5 crore in any of the previous financial years, starting from implementation of GST regime, you would be eligible for e-invoicing. Let's say you only crossed 5 crore in 18-19, and after that you have stayed below that threshold, you would still be eligible for e-invoicing. So if in any of the previous years your total turnover for the PAN has exceeded 5 crores, you have to start generating e-invoices from 1st of August 2023. So generally it is applicable to all the registered persons, and there is an exemption provided by the government. It is given in notification 61/2020. So SEZ unit is exempted. Any government department, local authority, or persons covered by CGST rule 54. So that includes insurer or a banking company or a financial institution, including NBFC goods, any transport agency. A lot of people who are operating in this business have this doubt whether e-invoicing is applicable to them. So transport agency is not eligible for e-invoicing. They do not have to generate e-invoicing. Passenger transportation service, again under transportation business. Admission to exhibition of cinematograph films in multiplex screens. So this is also not eligible, or they are exempted from e-invoicing. Now this is very important. Which transactions are covered under e-invoicing rules? So now if you are eligible for e-invoicing, you need to know for which particular transactions and documents do you have to generate e-invoices, and for which transactions you do not have to generate e-invoices, or e-invoicing is not applicable. So any taxable supply, please make note, you only have to generate e-invoice for a taxable supply in case the transaction is B2B, business to government, or in case of export of goods and services. So if you are supplying goods or services to a registered person, to a government, or exporting those goods and services, you have to generate e-invoice for an invoice, or if you are creating credit notes and debit notes against such parties as well. So taxable supplies to businesses, government, exports, and it is applicable to invoices, credit notes, and debit notes. Now, for which kind of transactions it is not applicable? That is business to customer, B2C. If you are selling to a non-registered person in India, that is B2C sale, you do not have to generate. You will not be able to generate the e-invoice itself. So e-invoicing is not applicable for B2C or any non-taxable supplies. That is your bill of supply, delivery challan, or an ISD invoice. Also in case of purchase from URD or import of goods or services. So just to reiterate, e-invoicing is applicable in case of taxable supplies for B2B, business to government, and export of goods or services. It is applicable for invoices, credit notes, and debit notes. Not applicable for non-taxable supplies and B2C sales. Now, moving on to registration. So before going live, that is when you register or you go live on e-invoice portal, you can test your data on Sandbox. So e-invoice, the first link that is given here, API Sandbox. You can register yourself on Sandbox and test how e-invoicing works, what kind of errors you might get, and the possible solutions to avoid these errors. you can see how it works before going live. The trial portal is available only for businesses whose turnover exceeds 100 crore. And the third one is the live portal. This is where you would be uploading your e-invoices from 1st of August, meaning all your actual transactions. You can test your dummy data on Sandbox. There are some other tools and information that are provided by the government as well. So if you want to see the list of people generating e-invoice currently, so if you have a supplier and he has given you an invoice, which is not an e-invoice, you can check if that person is actually generating e-invoice. If he has not given you an e-invoice, you can ask him to give it to you, because otherwise that invoice is not valid. You can also check your own status of enablement. Then the government provides free tools to generate e-invoice, that is the offline utility. You can generate e-invoices using the Excel provided by the government. Then an app is provided by the government to read the QR code. So every e-invoice has a QR code which you scan, and it gives the authenticity of an e-invoice. So when you scan the QR code, you get certain details which you can use to verify the e-invoice. Plus, the government provides acknowledgement JSON. When you generate an e-invoice, there is an acknowledgement JSON that is sent by the government to you. You can use that JSON to verify the validity of the invoice as well. Now moving on to the process, how does e-invoicing work? So we are taking a case where the software has been integrated for the purpose of e-invoicing. So the seller feeds his information and sends the JSON file of the invoice to IRP. So the IRP will validate that JSON, check for duplication, and if there's no issue with the invoice, they will generate the e-invoice. That generated e-invoice is sent back to the seller, that is through that ERP. It is sent back. The digitally signed JSON with IRN and QR code will be sent back, and then from there it is sent to GSTR1 directly by IRP. It gets auto-populated in GSTR1. If you are generating e-way bill as well on that e-invoice, it is sent to e-way bill portal as well. And from there, it gets auto-populated in the buyer's GSTR2A. The seller will also provide the invoice, that is e-invoice with the QR code to the buyer. Let's look at some of the terms and definitions that are that come with e-invoicing. So, invoice reference number. So, what is IRN? It is a combination of taxpayer GST, financial year, document type, and invoice number. So, as long as these four combinations remain the same, you would not be able to generate multiple invoices for these four details. So, IRN is a unique combination of all these four details. It is a 64-digit alphanumeric number to uniquely identify an invoice. So it is only readable by computers. You will not be able to make sense of the number if you just look at it. So that is why you cannot generate IRN for one invoice multiple times. Let's say invoice number 1, you have generated an e-invoice for it. You would not be able to generate an e-invoice again during the same financial year for the same invoice number. Invoice registration portal. So invoice registration portal is where all the e-invoices get created and registered. So the taxpayer sends the e-invoice JSON to IRP. It checks for duplication. As I said, if you have already generated an e-invoice for an invoice number, you will not be able to generate again. It also validates the details of the JSON. Once It is a confirmation is given that all the details are correct and it's a new invoice. E-invoice gets generated. IRP digitally signs the invoice and QR code. It sends it back to the taxpayer. If e-way bill is also generated, the information is sent to e-way bill portal, and then ultimately it is auto-populated in GSTR1. So it is authorized by the government. It is run by NIC. It verifies and acknowledges e-invoices, replies within the blink of an eye, and it only retains the invoices for 24 hours, within which you can also cancel it. After that, you would not be able to cancel the e-invoice. It will not give you a list of all the e-invoices you have generated. This is what a normal response from IRP looks like. It will give an acknowledgement date, that is the date on which the e-invoice is generated. This does not refer to the date of invoice, but the date and time of generation. Then an acknowledgement number, the IRN. The characters here are signed invoice and signed QR code. You can use this to generate the invoice or QR code. Status, whether it's active or you have cancelled it. If you're generating e-way bill, it will give the e-way bill details as well, like the date, number, and validity. This is what a PDF of the e-invoice generated looks like. This PDF is given by the e-invoice portal directly. Signed QR code. This is a signed QR code by the NIC. It contains high-level parameters of the invoice. When you scan this, it will not give all the information, but only the high level can be used to know the authenticity of an invoice. So if you download the QR code that is provided on the e-invoice portal and scan this, you would get information like this. So you would get the buyer GST number, the seller GST number, you'd have document date, number, type of document, whether it's invoice, credit note, debit note, IRN number, total item count, main HSN, and total invoice value. So just by scanning the QR code, you'll be able to get all these details and verify whether it is a genuine e-invoice or not. Okay, let me talk about how GST Zen integrates e-invoicing to an ERP. For example, we have a TDL which we install in Tally directly, and it provides the option to the user to generate the e-invoice directly from Tally itself. The data is fetched into GST Zen Cloud in the form of XML. From there, it is sent to IRP after validation in the form of JSON. From there, GST Zen fetches the QR code and IRN. This information is stored back into Tally. My colleague would be showing you how that works in Tally. Generation. Let's look at some of the frequently asked questions for e-invoicing. At what time is the e-invoice required for a particular transaction? So if the invoice is for movement of goods, so when you are moving goods, you generally generate an e-way bill. So now you also have to generate the e-invoice before commencing movement. For invoices from across the counter sale before completing the sale, and invoice for services before issuing it to the customer. How do e-way bills work? E-way bills are governed by Rule 138 of CGST rules. The e-way bill can be generated simultaneously with the IRN, or it can be generated at a later date. So if I make the sale now, I generate the e-invoice, but I have to move the goods after 2 days. So I will generate the e-way bill at a later point of time based on that IRN. The e-way bill will be connected to the e-invoice. So if you generate the e-way bill beforehand, before generating an e-invoice, it will not be connected to IRN. So the proper order is to generate the e-invoice first, then generate e-way bill on that e-invoice. IRP supports e-waybill only for invoice. So on IRN, you'd only be able to generate e-waybill for invoices. In case of credit notes and debit notes, you will not be able to link it to the e-invoice. It will have to be separately generated. So if you want to cancel the e-invoice, you'll have to cancel the e-waybill first, then cancel the e-invoice. How to print the e-invoice? You should print it with IRN and QR code. It is not mandatory that you issue the invoice in government's format. Only requirement is that you print it with IRN and QR code. And the QR code in a digital display is sufficient during transport. How to send the e-invoices to recipient? IRP will not send it for you. You should email the acknowledgement JSON along with the PDF so the buyer can verify by scanning the QR code as well as using the acknowledgement JSON. GST Zen also provides a facility of auto emailing the e-invoices generator. So you can directly you can automate this function if you use GST Zen. It will automatically be sent once you generate the e-invoice. What details should you save of the e-invoice? You should save the acknowledgement number, date, invoice, and QR code digitally signed by the IRP. So, until what time can I register an e-invoice? So, you can register an e-invoice any time before issuing the invoice. So, right now, there is no bar on generating backdated e-invoices. For you, the e-invoicing would start from 1st of August, but you would be able to generate an invoice dated 1st of August, let's say on 30th of August as well. So there is no bar at the moment. The government had introduced the time limit for turnover above 100 crores, which is not there at the moment. It is it is under it is highly speculated that the time limit will be made applicable again. So you should generate it within a week to be in compliance with section 31. But right now e-invoice portal has no restriction on generating an e-invoice for a backdated invoice. Can e-invoice be cancelled? Yes, it can be cancelled within 24 hours of creation. So it is only talking about the date of creation and not the date of invoice. So right now, if I generate an e-invoice dated 5th of April, I would be able to cancel it within 24 hours and not after that. Can an e-invoice be modified? No. So once you have generated an e-invoice, you will not be able to change any detail. Let's say by mistake you put the quantity wrong. Can you change it? No. By mistake you put the wrong buyer GST number. Now you cannot change it. So any detail, there's no possibility to change any details. The only option is to cancel the e-invoice and generate a new one. That too you can only cancel within 24 hours. So what happens if you make a mistake and the invoice is not cancelled within 24 hours? So the other option is to cancel it from your books of accounts and not report it in GSTR1. Another option is to raise a credit note for it and generate a new invoice altogether. Once you cancel the e-invoice, you would not be able to generate an e-invoice with the same invoice number. So even if you try to modify it without canceling, so like let's say you have generated an invoice number 5 with quantity 100, but you are supposed to give it as 1000. So if you try to superimpose those details, that will also not work. It will just say duplicate IRN and the original details will stand. Moving on to the technical aspects. So as I've already explained, this is how integration works in GST Zen for e-invoicing. Now moving on to the schema, there are some mandatory details and some optional details in e-invoicing. So this image shows all the mandatory sections that where the information needs to be provided while generating the e-invoice, like the seller details, buyer details, document, line item details, and amount details. So this image shows the optional sections as well. So shipping address, if you have a different ship to address, you would provide the ship to address. Similarly, if the dispatch from details are different, you would provide those as well. In case of exports, you provide the export details. Plus, if you have any reference detail that you want to provide for e-invoices, like the customer, the purchase order date, number, or any payment terms, the credit notes, credit days, etc. You can provide that as well. These are the optional sections. So you have mandatory sections, and then you have fields within the mandatory sections. Let's say we are talking about seller details. So you'd have to provide the seller GST number, name, address, pin codes as such. But there are some fields which are optional within the seller details as well, like the email address and the phone number. So there's no requirement to provide those details within, even though the seller details are mandatory, not all details, all fields within the seller details are mandatory. So you have mandatory sections and you have optional sections, plus the um, fields within the mandatory section as well as optional. Okay, so there is no need to go into much detail. This presentation will be shared with all of you. You can go through this. So now moving on, the solutions offered by GST Zen. So we provide various solutions such as Excel direct database integration and custom click button in ERPs. So under Excel, we have secured folder and drag and drop. So then we also provide direct database access, and we provide APIs which can be used to integrate your own software uh, with e-invoicing. Plus, we provide ready-made solutions for Tally and SAP. So we install a connector in the software, which where it will provide an option in your software itself to generate the e-invoice. Now my colleagues will show you the demo of the software. Azhar, you'll be showing the first demo for Tally, right?
Yes, Bharati.
Yeah, please go on.
Yeah, thank you. Let me share my screen. So let me know when you can see the screen. So hi everyone, good evening everyone. This is Azhar from GST Zen. So today I'll be showing you how we can generate, cancel, e-invoice, e-waybill from Tally application with the help of GST Zen utility. So for that I will be covering into two parts. The first part would be I'll be showing you how we can generate and cancel e-invoice, e-waybill, and the second part I'll be showing you how we can generate standalone e-waybill along with that updation of Part B, extent of e-waybill validity, as well as the cancellation. So let me just show.
Sorry to interrupt, Azhar.
Yeah,
Would it be possible to show an example of export as well without any taxes? There is a
yeah, let me,
question raised.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. So before you are going to generate an invoice, you are required to be install one small plugin, which is actually Tally add-on. So this will be given by our support team. So as soon as you install that TDL, you will be able to see our GSTZen tab from the gateway of Tally screen. So let me just show you the process. You have to enter the GSTZen module. For generating invoice, you are required to select the B2B invoice option. And here we have four modules like invoice register, generated, pending, and cancel. So in the e-invoice register, it is nothing but similar to your sales register. So whatever the vouchers that you have been passed so far under your sales or credit note, whatever it may be, so those vouchers will be reflected here itself. So also we have given some color indications to identify the status of the vouchers. So let's say for if the voucher it is in blue, which means it is indicating that for that voucher IRN has been generated, which is invoice has been generated for that voucher. If the voucher it is in green, invoice generated, as well as that e-way bill also generated for that same invoice. Also, if the voucher it is in black, which means it is indicating that nothing is generated, either IRN or e-way bill is not generated for that voucher. And the one more color indication which is indicates the red one. So it is saying that something error while uploading an invoice. Also, if you open the transaction, you will be able to see the error in the status bar. So this is the feature, you can able to see the error in here itself. So it is saying that the GST number is invalid. So if it is not a valid GST number, the government portal will not allow you to generate an invoice for that particular party. So this is the unique feature in the GSTzen module. So let me just show you one live demo with how we can create an invoice and also how we can generate those invoices from the GSTzen utility. So as you know that we have to go to accounting vouchers for creating sales and credit notes or everything. So here is you can see it is an additional feature. It is given by GSTzen, where if you are maintaining multiple branches in multiple locations. So also if you want to generate an invoice for in the name of branches, that is also possible from this module. So what you have to, you are required to be created that multiple branches from the tally. So once you have generated, those branches will be appear here. So base is that if you want to generate for that any invoice for in the name of branch, that is also available. So the primary would be for my data is Karnataka. So let me just select the Karnataka state here. As usual, we need to look at to select the party and the sales ledger. Then we have to select the commodity, which is stock item. So one more thing I just want to let you know, here we have an option to create an e-way bill, which means if you want to generate an e-way bill along with this invoice, you have to enable this option. Then the only thing which is mandatory for e-way bill is vehicle number. Here you have to provide the vehicle number. So what I will do, I don't want to generate e-way bill along with this invoice. So let me just skip this field. So let me just save the voucher details. So I have saved the details. Those vouchers can be able to see from the GSTzen module, B2B invoice register. So as you can see, this is the one which I have created now. So let's say for if you want to generate an invoice for this voucher, so obviously you have to select this vouchers first. The moment when you select the voucher, you will be able to see this option from the vertical button bar. So upload invoice, generate available export system, and so on. So let's say for also if you want to generate an invoice for any multiple transaction, that is also available, the bulk option. So what you can do, whatever the vouchers which you want to generate invoice, you can select all the line items, and within the help of a single button, it will send the response to the government portal. Within the blink of eye, it will get the response back and it will save the response into the tag. So as you can see, the status also it is showing here for that voucher that IRN is generated. Okay, so earlier it was in the black one, which is invoice is not generated. Now it has been everything turned into blue color, which means it is indicating that the invoice has been generated for the voucher. So the when you open the voucher, you will be able to see that IRN details. This is the 64-digit alphanumeric IRN number, and the next one is the acknowledgement number and acknowledgement date with the date and timestamp. And the last one is the status of that voucher. The IRN is generated, but the e-way bill is not generated. That is why it is showing now. So let me just show you the print preview, how it will actually looks like. So So this is the IRN. Also, it is printable in that invoice format, and this is the QR code. So if it is a valid invoice, that IRN and QR code should be mandatory when you are issuing that invoice to your customers. Also, you can verify this QR code if you want to see any particular transaction detail for this invoice. You can able to verify the QR code by downloading one app from the government portal. So this is the preview. So let me show you one more example with that export invoice as one of our participants mentioned. Let me select one foreign customer. Okay. So this is, you can see this is the foreign export invoice. Saudi Arabia. This is export with pay, which is generated. It is services only. Okay, let me just change it to accounting invoice. I'm just rendering some services. So in that, what I have to do, I have to mention that applicable, which is actually exempt. Export nil rate. So I have saved that export invoice also. Let me show you the same thing from the GSTN module. So this is the one, as you can see, which has been created now. Let me just select the invoice and let me just try to open the same. Okay, it is, if you if you have omitted some mandatory details, then it will give you the details like country code is mandatory for that export transaction, where you can mention the country code as well. So all these scenarios will be possible from the tally. Let me just select something. Okay, I think we need to provide some mandatory details. So let me just explain you later. Okay, so now I have shown you that generated process, and if you want to cancel any invoice, let's say for, you can able to cancel that invoice within the 24 hours of time. So if you want to cancel any invoice, you can go to that generated module. As you can see here, this is the one which is generated. Here you will be able to see all the invoices. Let me select one invoice which you want to cancel. So I have selected one invoice. If you want to cancel invoice, you can click on the cancel. So it will kick out from this bucket and it will move to the cancel mode. So as you can see, that 74 which is went out from this bucket and it has been moved to the cancel mode. The 74. Also, if you want to verify the status, you can open the voucher. You can see that IRN has been cancelled. That it is saying the status cancelled. Also, if you want to verify with that portal, you can just click on that view online option. So it will redirect your GSTN page where you can see the status of that invoice. So it is saying here the cancel. The generated invoices also we can able to view. If you want to view from online, you can, by clicking this button, you will be able to see that option. Yeah, so this is the printable format. If you want to print this format, that is also possible from the GSTs. Also, if you want to email this invoice to a party, so what you have to do, you have to configure the email from the party ledger. If you configure the email, so that email also will be go to that respective party from the GSTs application. So if you click and if you select that email invoice, so that email also will be triggered to that particular party so that they can invoice with that mail itself. So this is how the first module, that first part I have just included, that how we can generate an invoice e-waybill from the tally, and the second part would be how we can generate that e-waybill standalone e-waybill along with that cancellation and updation of part B as well as the extent of e-waybill validity. So all of you aware of that for some cases we may require that e-waybill, but the e-invoice is not mandatory. So okay, let's say for example, I'm just selling goods to one B2C end customer. So actually, which is B2C sales. So for that, the e-waybill is mandatory, but the invoice is not required. So in such cases, we would be generating the e-waybill without the help of IR. So how we could handle all these scenarios with this GSTs and utility, I will show you now. So for that, again, you have to go to GSTs and module. If you want to generate only the e-waybill, then you can choose this e-waybill module. Here you can choose the e-waybill generate option. So as you can see, it has some invoices which has been e-waybill also generated. With that color combination, you will get to know for these many vouchers that e-waybill also generated. If you open the vouchers, you will get to know this is the e-waybill status. Also, if you want to print this invoice, that e-waybill number also will be printable in that PDF format. So if the e-waybill is generated, the e-waybill number will be appear here. So if you want to generate any e-waybill for delivery challenge, actually which is pertaining to any job work or other related activities, that is also possible from the GSTs. So let me just create one B2C invoice and I will show you how we can generate the standalone e-waybill. So I'm just selecting one consumer here. As usual, we need to select the sales ledger. So as I mentioned, if you want to generate that e-waybill, that vehicle number is mandatory for generation of e-waybill. So I have saved the details. E-waybill generate. So what I will do, this is the one which I have created now. This is actually the B2C sales. So for that, I require to generate only the e-waybill, but I don't want to generate that IR. So what I have to, you can select that voucher here. Also, let me just select one delivery note also. You can click on the generate e-waybill. So as you can see, this is generated now. You will get the e-waybill number as well as the validity till up to when it is valid. And if you want to print the details, as you can see, you can print this invoice, also that e-waybill number also printable from that invoice format. So for, as I mentioned you, for that delivery challenge also e-waybill is generated. So let me show you how we can update the part B for that transporter details. So if you want to update any part B, so what you have to do, you just click on this provide GST e-waybill details. you can go to that transporter, which is vehicle number. You can change the vehicle number here. I have just changed the vehicle number. So if you want to update the pod B, then you can click on the update pod B button. So this is only required if in case the vehicle got breakdown or something. For some reason, we may require to update the pod B. So, okay, for that we need to mention the place from. Here, let me just mention the vehicle. Also, if you receive any error, that is easy to track from this status field, so that you'll get to know what error actually it is. Now you can see with the help of single button, it is that even the pod B also updated from the tag. So there is no changes with that validity, only that pod B vehicle details only it is updated. Also, if you want to extend the validity of the EV bill, the same thing. So as you know that EV bill validity cannot be extended as you anytime that you want. So it can be done 8 hours before the expiry or 8 hours after the expiry. Also, if I want to try to update extend the EV bill validity, it won't update. It will give you the error like that. No. So it will give you the error, which means we can't able to extend the validity. So you can see that only we can able to extend the validity before or after that 8 hours of that expiry. So this is the way we can able to generate invoice e-waybill from the tally with the help of GST. So right now I'm just concluding my demo. So next my colleague Vikas will be showing you how we can generate an e-invoice e-waybill from through GST and billing software as well as Excel utility and the API integration. Yeah, so over to Vikas.
Thank you, Azar. Let me know if you can see my screen. Okay, so yeah. So this is the landing page of GST Zen. As soon as you click into GST Zen and go, so this is the first page that you would see, and it has a brief list of all the GST numbers that you are being maintained and that you have added in your GST Zen account, and that you need to do various actions on, whether you want to do the GST R1 filing, 3B filing. So it contains all those GST numbers which are added in your account. Right now, I'll be showing you the demo with one of the accounts. And it also contains another details like GSTR1, whether it's been filed or not, or some quick links are also available. So you get a brief overview of the first dashboard that appears while you have logged in. Now let's do the first mode of integration through the GSTs and cloud software. So let me go into this, and I can click on this here and create a bill. This is the billing software that I'm showing you, and it helps us to generate even B2C invoices, even B2B invoices, and through which we can generate the e-invoices. So currently you can see that there are various details available as I have entered into that GST number. So it automatically takes all the other details like Clouds and Software Labs, GST number and everything. And if I want to enter the document number, that is also entered. One feature of this billing software is that the auto incrementation of the document number. Let's say today the document number is invoice 75/72 723/EZEN1. Tomorrow, if I want to generate a new invoice, it would automatically increment. GST's intelligent feature automatically increments the value. So you are in continuous progression and you follow the sequence that is being standardized or that is being used by your current organization. So let me now use the invoice date of today's, that is 21st July, and I would take the basic details like the document details, supply type. Supply type here I'm taking as B2B, as Bharti already explained in the presentation, that it is valid only for the taxable supplies and also only for the supplies which are B2B export. So here I'm taking the supply type as B2B. I would take the recipient details as one of the details which is already stored. Now you might be wondering that how these details got autofilled here in the recipient details. It's because all the details are already present in our company master. So similarly, if you use the software, you can also create a master of your frequent recipient, so that you do not have to enter all the details every time whenever you create an invoice. So that makes the process little easier. Okay. Other than that, you have this TCS charges if you need overall in the invoice. Other than that, it has other additional columns. If you want the product description to be there, IGST amount and all these details, if you want, these can also appear here and you can use them. Okay. If you don't want, that's fine. You can just select any of the details and edit it, make it 400 or whatever. If it's already stored in your master, it's just showing that value, and click on round off. You can give the other reference details. You can even give the additional details if you want. So then after giving all the details, you have to just save the invoice. Now it is giving me three options. That is, one, review the invoice, download the PDF, and create a new invoice. Plus new invoice means create a new invoice. Now if I click on review, I land up into the page where it shows me the details of the invoice which I have just created. So it would show you all the details that we have just created, and it would help us to generate the e-invoice. Let's say I want to see what a PDF looks like before it is an e-invoice. So you can see that this does not create the essential features of an e-invoice, that is the IRN number, the acknowledgement date and number, the QR code, which is the main feature, which are the main features of a e-invoice tax invoice. So if I click on generate, it gives me the IRN number, the acknowledgement date and the acknowledgement number. From the date and the acknowledgement number, you can verify that it's today and we have generated it just now. If I look into the PDF now, you would see that the essential details that I was talking and even Bharti mentioned in the presentation, those all have appeared as soon as we clicked on generate the e-invoice. So this is the procedure of how, or you can consider a cycle of an invoice from a normal B2C invoice or a normal invoice to an e-invoice, how you go through. Now, if you want to generate even the e-way bill along with this e-invoice, so you have an option of generate an e-way bill. For that, you need to give some essential details which are required. I would give the vehicle details, and I will leave the transporter name and date, transporter name and ID as blank. I will select the mode of transport as road, and then I will click on generate e-way bill. You would notice that one additional row has been added, and it has the e-way bill number, the date, up to which date it is valid, and all the details of an valid e-way bill. If I click on the PDF again, you would notice that even the e-way bill number, date, and valid up to details have appeared in the e-invoice. And now this invoice has e-way bill as well as an e-invoice. So this is contains both the features. Now, if you want just the e-way bill PDF, GSTizen has a feature for that as well. You can click on download e-way bill PDF, and you get the e-way bill PDF. So it contains basically all the details that we took, the supplier and the recipient details, the chairs that I changed, and you noticed I changed it to 4,000 rupees. So all these are being reflected, and even you can see the date also to verify that it has been generated now. So this is the first method of generating an e-invoice through the billing software. Other than that, we have other features through which we generate e-invoice. I would now like to show you how we can generate an e-invoice through the GSTs in Excel. I would again click on that GST number. First, I would go to the dashboard and I would again click on that GST number. And then I would go to here, e-invoicing. Now on this page, we contain like there are various details like GSTs and Excel, Tally SAP integration, your Excel, GSTs and Excel full. So you have to click on GSTs and Excel full, and it has a template already stored here. If you want to see the template, I can show you. Just a moment. I think it's opening. Yeah. So this is the GSTs and Excel full that I was talking about. It contains all the details which are required to be filled in the GSTs and Excel. It also contains a column which tells whether the field is mandatory or an optional field as per the e-invoice schema. It also contains this all the details of the supplier, what it means, like supplier details, who is the supplier, a brief idea, so that you can refer to this sheet while you are uploading. Also, it contains the item level details and other TCS amounts, also country code. If you are, generating the export invoices, then country code you have to give. And other than that, this is the sheet which where enter all your invoices for the generation of invoices. Here you would enter according to the details, whether the document type, document number. You would notice that some of the headers are in bold. It means that all those fields are mandatory in nature and you have to fill them in order to generate a valid invoice. So I'll just show you. It is just a horizontal view of what we saw in the about sheet. Okay. It contains all the details. You have to fill it, and once that is done, then you have to upload this Excel into the GSTs and portal. Next is the master data. The master data, you will see some details like allowed GSTs. Allowed GSTs means since we have gone into that particular GST number and downloaded the Excel, it means that it is allowing only that GST number to upload and create the e-invoice. It also has details of the state codes, UQC code, which is often very confusing for the people who have just started with e-invoicing because the codes can be different. So it gives a brief overview how your UQC and what UQC you should use, the transaction type, like whether it's a B2B regular invoice or a SEZ exports, or basically an export invoice with payment, without payment. All these details you can check from it. Other than that, if you want to generate invoice or credit note or debit note, depending on the document type that you have entered, you can generate any of those. And last but not the least, you have also the country code, which is also mandatory in the case of export invoices. Earlier, it was not mandatory, but now the portal has made it mandatory. So you get the list of the country codes here as well. Now, once you go here and then click on this, you have this. I will click on this and open this. And similarly, after preparing your Excel sheet, you have to just upload in the portal and it will have all the details. Slowly, it will have all the details of what all you have entered here. Just give it a minute. See, now it is showing that in my Excel, there are 7 documents. The taxable amount is this, the CGST amount is this, the IGST is this, and all that. In case if there are any errors, it would show in this tab. At present, there are no errors. So it has shown all the invoice which have passed the validation for to be an e-invoice from GSTs and are now ready to be an e-invoice. Okay. So for that, you have to just click on this. Again, if you want to see the PDFs of how it looks before generating, you can see that it's a credit note. What are the details of the credit note? Whether there are any QR codes or not. There is nothing like that sort because it's not a e-invoice as of yet. So once we click on that, yes, upload e-invoices. Slowly, this yellow circles would change into the green circles, indicating that the e-invoices have been created. So I would go to one of the e-invoices. See, now you would feel that now just 5 minutes back, I think when I was showing you the billing software, I landed on the same page. So this connects our e-invoice system, because wherever or whichever mode of integration you generate your e-invoices, all of your e-invoices are stored in your sales register. So all your sales invoices are at one place, and you can see all those sales invoices at one place. Now, if you want to generate, the e-way bill along with it, the same procedure, you have to click again, and you can generate it. Now, after giving you the Excel demo, there is one more mode of integration, that is the API integration, which is also used by developers, which is essentially used by developers because it gives them more freedom to generate, to have, the API, basically the e-invoice, so that they can integrate with their custom software. Maybe it is that it's not a standardized process. So it is helpful for the developers to integrate with our APIs. I will give you some essential features of our APIs. This is a post request that you have to make, and this is the JSON as prescribed by NIC. The trans details, the supply type, which basically reverse charges present or not, IGST on intrastate, document details, seller details, buyer details, dispatch details, or even the ship to details item list, all are present in this JSON. And this post method mechanism is used to generate an e-invoice. Okay. Apart from that, there are also headers present that you can use to generate the basically the authentication happens through that. And once you hit that, you will be able to generate an e-invoice. Okay. Now, if I change the document number, let's say 43, I make it. It would say the IRN is generated, and it would give me the time, that what time it is generated, and what is the acknowledgement number, acknowledgement date. The essential part of e-invoices, that as you saw in the PPT, there is only some fields which are provided by the responses provided by the government. Apart from that, we have added other fields which would help the developers to integrate with it properly, like the status, messages. These are very essential when we talk about developing the ERPs and integrating with APIs, because it gets the user as well as the developer of an idea of the technology. Because government will just give you IRN, acknowledgement number, acknowledgement date, e-way bill, and the signed QR code and signed invoice. But what extra do we provide? We provide even the invoice PDF URL. So you need not take all the data and render into an HTML file, render it into a PDF. That is not required. Essentially, all that is taken care from the GSTs side. So if you are wondering how this URL will work, I will just show you in a minute. So this you have to copy in the portal. Okay. So you have to just prefix it with my.gstzen.in and then paste that link which you have received. So all the links that you were receiving, you have to just prefix it with my.gstzen. It would redirect to the S3 bucket of Amazon, and you will be getting that PDF. So all our PDFs are safe here. Now, apart from that, if you want to see the e-way bill PDF URL, similarly, you have to copy this and prefix it with my.gstzen.in, and you have to just paste it like that. See, you have landed to the same page. Now this shows basically you integrate with either billing software, either e-invoicing through Excel or through API. You from all the integrations, you land to the same PDF, to the same URL, and to the same sales register page. So it helps to be in the to a centralization of all your invoices. So your accounts team can basically keep a track of it. However you generate, maybe you are generating at two fronts. One team is generating from Excel, one team is generating through APIs. So however you are generating, all invoices are kept in one place, and it helps you to keep track of all the invoices which has been generated over a period of time. In sales register, we have a lot of other filters actually to help you with it. Let's say you created some invoice and you want to search it, because 500 invoices or 600 invoices are being created in a day in your company. So you can just search it out. You have even the date filters provided, the HSN code, the GST rates, the department. It also has the e-invoice status, whether it is generated, if there is any error, or you even get a cancelled invoices status, all the invoices which has been cancelled, you get the list of all those details. So it helps you to manage basically all your invoices. Apart from generation, this tool becomes a very handy tool to manage all your invoices that have been generated over a period of time. So that's all for my presentation, and that's all for my demo. I would request all of you to ask your questions in the chat, and maybe you can unmute yourself so that our expert team can answer your queries.
Yeah, maybe you can raise the hand. We will unmute you and you can ask your question. Utkarsh, you have to unmute them. Send a prompt request for unmute. Only co-host can do it, or make me as a co-host.
So you're a co-host now.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so all those who have raised the hand, we have given the prompt for unmute. You can unmute yourself and ask the question. And all the questions that have come in the Q&A, we have answered. Okay, there being no questions, we can conclude for the day. People were asking how do we reach us. Our contact details is support@gstzen.in, and we have put our number for the thing, which is on WhatsApp. You can always reach us. Whether we need to buy a separate software of GST for multiple GST number, Pooja Deshpande ji, the charge is based on the number of PANs and the number of APIs that you consume. You can always reach to us basis your requirement. Our team will assist you. You can also join our WhatsApp community where you will get the updates about GST regularly. All right. There being no other questions, maybe I think we can conclude for today.
Okay, sir.